Hi, I'm Dr. Divina Lopez, a board-certified pediatrician with over 10 years of experience in pediatrics, and you are listening to Dancing into Parenthood. Hello everybody. This is Dr. Divina Lopez. Welcome back to Dancing into Parenthood. Today we are so lucky to have Tracey Jedrzejek, an international board-certified lactation consultant in Silicon Valley. After teaching preschool and doing product development in the toy industry, she found her true passion as a lactation consultant after successfully breastfeeding her own 2 children. She has worked with hundreds of moms and babies in the hospital setting, running support groups, teaching prenatal breastfeeding, and mostly through her private practice, Tracey Lactation. She wrote Latch Baby as a concise, practical, non-judgmental, and illustrated guide to breastfeeding. She hopes that the colorful, easy-to-read format will help support and empower sleep-deprived moms throughout their breastfeeding experience. When Tracey isn't helping new moms and babies, she enjoys reading, cooking, traveling, and spending time with her family, including her 2 fur babies. Thank you so much, Tracey, for coming on, because I found your book on Instagram, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, what a great guide for anyone who's breastfeeding. Like, I totally wish that this was out when I was breastfeeding my baby 7 years ago. So I thought this would be such an amazing resource for new parents, new moms, or even moms that are expecting, so they can get an idea of, what to expect when they're breastfeeding, or even how to prepare themselves for, that whole new journey. So please, I just am so thrilled that you said yes to this, that you sent me the book, which I love, because the illustrations make everything so easy. And it's a really nice book because it's not too long. I think all the chapters are so to the point and exactly what they need to know. But thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. So, what is the most important thing a mom can do before her baby arrives?
Well, there's really nothing that a mom needs to do with, her breasts at all. Her breasts have been starting to make milk since about week 14 of her pregnancy. So, everything is ready to go there. But one thing she could do is contact her health insurance company ahead of time.
Yes.
It's a good idea to ask them about what their coverage is for lactation consulting visits.
Mm-hmm.
They may approve something that is through a doctor or a hospital. They may approve home visits, which most women prefer. And they also typically cover the cost of a pump.
Mm-hmm.
So a breast pump. So they'll have, typically a website that you can go to and look at the different pumps and order one. And it's really a good idea to have one ahead of time, because most moms don't need a breast pump in the first month, but there are cases where you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a good idea to have one on hand in case you need it. So
yeah, and even to figure out how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's important, because you also have to know the different sizes of the phalanges and everything. So
yes.
I think that's a really good idea to do before the baby arrives, because once the baby's here, that's one of the last things that you want to have to do in the middle of the night, or try to figure that out. It could be a little complicated sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the biggest misconception about breastfeeding?
Well, from the prenatal breastfeeding classes that I've taught, what I've found is that most people are very worried about whether it's going to hurt,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's going to be hard and very time consuming, and probably painful is the most concerning thing that they have, and it's understandable. I think a lot of people who are pregnant get a lot of advice and a lot of ideas from other people who've had kids. And, if you had a challenging breastfeeding experience, you might share it with a pregnant mom, which can be a little scary,
Right.
not everybody has a challenging time. You and I have talked about how it was fairly easy for both of us. So I don't
Yes.
want anyone to assume that it's going to be this really hard thing. But it's a good idea to have it on your radar. Most people, when I see them in their home, they'll say, gosh, I didn't think at all about breastfeeding. I was just worried about getting the room ready, or I was worried about,
Mm-hmm.
how I was feeling and just getting through the birth, which is
Yes.
typically a day or less.
Right.
And, you're going to be breastfeeding, maybe 8 hours a day when you first have your baby, which is very time consuming.
Yes.
So it's going to be the main thing that you're doing. And so it's really a good idea to get some education ahead of time so that
Yeah.
you're prepared.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. I think a lot of the most of the time, like when the parents come in and meet me for the first time and they're asking me questions about like breastfeeding, the main concern is, like how much sleep am I actually gonna get? How often do I have to do this? And can I also use formula with it? And I'm like, everybody is different, every baby is different. And every family dynamic is just different. So I like to take it case by case
yes.
and figure out like what works best for everyone, because
Yeah.
it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah. And, mentioning, when people ask you like, well, how long, how much time is this going to take? How much sleep am I going to get? It is really true in the beginning. Your sleep is, very disrupted, because the
Mm-hmm.
baby needs to eat about every 3 hours because their tummy is so small. And so they just
Right.
go through it so quickly. And as the baby's learning to breastfeed and as you're learning, it does take some time in the beginning because, the baby doesn't have a very strong suck when they're only 7 pounds, and
Yeah.
as they get bigger and stronger, their mouth grows, like you just get so much more comfortable
Yeah.
and it's so quick. It might take 10 minutes. And, so many people, in the beginning have asked me, like, gosh, how long do I have to do this? And they get very worried and think about like, oh, am I supposed to do this for a year? I can't even do this today on day 4.
Right.
And then I end up hearing from them at the first birthday and they say like, oh, I'm so glad you helped me. Breastfeeding is so easy. I have no plans of weaning anytime soon, so
Yeah. it,
it,
it
it
really, once you get it down, it really is so easy, because
yeah,
you don't have to clean everything and warm stuff up, and you don't have to worry about all that stuff. So it is there's a learning curve to it for the mom and for the baby, but
yeah,
once you like both get into the flow of it, it's so nice. And so um I think it just makes the not only the connection between the mom and the baby so much better, but it also has a soothing component to it and helps everyone just to feel really good, because that oxytocin, that cuddling hormone, and so
yeah,
everybody feels really good, and
true.
it's a beautiful experience. It really is a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And so what should a new mom do if her baby is having trouble latching, or if the breastfeeding is too painful?
So, I would seek out help as soon as possible. Even if mom gives birth at a hospital, she should start asking as soon as possible for lactation support, if she's feeling at all unsure or it's, starting to feel painful, because, if you're doing it 8 times a day, the pain is not going to get better. It's going to quickly get more challenging if the baby's not latching correctly. And so the sooner you can get intervention and get somebody, a lactation consultant, to come and help you, the better. And so whether it's at the hospital or once they get home, I always tell people like, let me know as soon as any problems occur, because, I want to come in and help you as soon as possible. Um, so, usually it's just a matter of teaching them how to get the baby on a little deeper, because a deep
Mm-hmm.
latch is what ensures mom's comfort. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we don't call it nipple feeding, we call it breastfeeding. And so we
That's
don't want
right.
the baby right on the nipple, and we want the baby
Right.
to take in more of the areola.
Right.
And that is what helps mom feel comfortable. Um, if there's, if breastfeeding is too painful, obviously she still needs to feed her baby. And so it's going to be really important for her to either use donor milk or formula to feed her baby. And at the same time, she needs to protect her milk supply by using a double electric breast pump to pump
Mm-hmm.
her breast every 3 hours for 15 minutes to protect her milk supply as it's coming in. And as that milk comes in, she can then use that milk to supplement her baby. So, lactation consultants have so many tools and tricks and things that we can use to help. Regular parents have no idea. I come in with my whole bag of tricks, and they
Right. Yeah. I
can really.
think yeah, I remember when I was in the hospital, I had someone come in, and I remember I was so nervous, number one, because my son was already getting like fussy to the point where he was like, I can't take it, and his head, I remember, was like moving all around, and she was like, just hold him there. I was just like, okay, I had my pillow, and I was so ready for this because I knew, as a pediatrician, it was really important to me to breastfeed my baby. And so unfortunately, he was very small. He was born 5 pounds 4 ounces,
Oh,
and
wow.
then he was like losing weight, and they were like, we're gonna formula feed him, and I was like, no, you're not. So I kept him in the room with me. I was like, he's not going to the nursery. He's staying here with me. I'm trying my hardest. Like, I
Yeah.
made sure to like get up every 3 hours and put him to the breast. And actually, I don't know what your opinion is on this, but I brought a pacifier actually to the
Uh-huh.
hospital with me because the hospitals had stopped giving out pacifiers. Prior to that, they did. And then by the time I had my son, they were not. So I said, let me just bring one with me.
Uh-huh.
And prior to me even having a baby, I always really, really discussed like nipple confusion and stuff like that with my own moms. So I was kind of like scared to give it to him, but I was like, he needs something to soothe him because he was just a very fussy baby. And
Yeah.
so I remember like I had an emergency C-section, and I had to stay 5 days at the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there were some complications. So I had to stay longer than I thought I would. But by, I think it was the third night, I gave him the pacifier. And then the very next day, everything just kind of coordinated. I don't know what happened. I was like,
Wow.
okay. So then I was like, okay, this kind of worked. I don't know if it helped him with his suck. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
that did happen to us. And I was like, okay, because moms they always ask me about nipple confusion, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I didn't give him formula, I just gave him a pacifier.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And
that's good. Especially because he was little, it probably helped him with his suck coordination.
yeah, yeah,
It's like a little training. In
yeah,
general, for full-term babies, we don't recommend it because the way they suck on a pacifier, they kind of use their lips, and it's almost like sucking on the nipple.
yeah.
So we want to teach them to suck with a bigger mouth.
Big, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but I always tell people if it's 3 a.m. and nothing else is working, of course, try the pacifier,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely have them on hand. But we say just try to use it sparingly in the first month as they're learning to breastfeed. And after that, it can be just a wonderful tool. My daughter had hers till she was 2, and God, it gave her so much comfort,
yes, yes,
It really
yes.
isn't all bad, I think. Yeah, she had braces, and I think she would have anyway. So,
Right. Right. I think, like I said, every baby, every mom is different, and so you kind of have to find that little way and allow that time to have that learning curve and not feel bad about it. Like, don't feel that the baby has to come out knowing exactly what to do and that you're going to just magically know how to do everything too. Like, you have to allow that time guilt-free to allow the two of you to get to know how to do this, because it's something new usually, for both of you. So don't don't feel so, or don't give up so easily is
yeah.
basically what I want to say, because I feel like so many of the times the moms tell me like, oh, he doesn't like it, and I'm like, my baby didn't like it either. Like, the first 3 days were really, really tough because I'm like, hello, I'm trying to put you here, you're kind of fighting me, and then it felt like we were battling in a way, and I felt terrible about that, because I'm like, why don't you want this? I want to give it to you so bad, you know? And you know, it's like the best thing for them. So that produces some more anxiety on top of it, because you're like, I really want to give you this gold, you know? And
Exactly.
yeah, so when they're kind of almost rejecting it in a way, you're like, this can't be, you know, you had a plan, and, you know, just kind of stick to it, and it's okay. It's gonna be a little period of time where you feel a little awkward, but once you get into the flow, everything is really nice. So
Yeah.
now
And
that time.
I want moms to, realize, moms will tell me that too. And I say, like, he really isn't rejecting you. Like, he doesn't have this whole, like, psychological plan to reject
Right,
you. He's
right.
just, you may not be holding him correctly or in a way that he feels secure, or you may not be, like, positioning the breast correctly where it sets him up for success. There's so many things that, that we want to come into place. And, some moms are kind of timid about really holding the baby and really kind of taking control. They worry about their head, and it's
Right.
understandable. But as soon as we get the baby close enough and latched on correctly, the baby goes for it, and that's what they want. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like they're crying, like, give me what I want. And the mom's thinking, well, why don't you want me? And it's not
Right,
about that. But it's
right.
so hard when you're having especially your first baby, and you want to breastfeed, and
Yes,
you
yes.
want everything to work. And usually after a few days it really comes together, especially as your milk increases in volume and your baby sucks and is like, oh, this is nice, this is good.
Right, right. Yeah. And one of the things that we were discussing is how when you have an anxious mom and an anxious baby, you know, or the mom is maybe, you know, making the baby feel a little stressed, and so the baby starts to be a little fussy also. So once you have that feeling of like the support from, you know, a lactation consultant, if you can get the support there, then usually that just eases you a little bit, which makes everything a little easier all in all with the baby and the breastfeeding, and then finally everything seems to like happen all of a sudden.
Yeah, I agree. Moms need so much more support. I run a weekly free support group. A lot of lactation consultants do, so I really encourage moms to look around in their area and see what kind of support they can find. It's not only great to get help from a lactation consultant, but also you meet a lot of great moms who have babies of similar age. And, I ended up, my kids grew up with these people,
Mm-hmm.
group.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just very valuable. And you're going through you're in the trenches together, and it's just
Right.
great to have your little tribe of other women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give a new mom about her diet while nursing? This is such a common like big time question.
Yeah, yeah, I understand it. I remember when I first had my baby, and my friend was telling me, "Oh no, you pretty much just can eat rice and chicken. That's all." And I was like, "What?
Oh,
That can't be
yeah.
right." So no, moms can eat pretty much whatever they want. Women all over the world eat all sorts of, curries and beans and things that we think, oh, they might be, gas inducing,
Gassy. Right.
broccoli,
Mm-hmm.
they green leafy vegetables. But really, I wouldn't avoid anything initially, because you don't know if your particular baby is going to have any kind of trouble with what you're eating. And so you don't want to limit yourself.
Right.
So I just recommend eating whatever you want. Babies are fussy, and it's not necessarily what's in the breast milk. It's just they're getting used to this new world. And
Right.
so you shouldn't assume that, you can't eat something. But having said that, whatever you eat does get to your breast milk about 4 to 6 hours later. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do have something unusual for lunch that you don't normally eat, and then maybe around dinner time when all babies are fussy, your baby is
That's
fussy,
right. Yeah.
if you can recreate that, maybe 2 days later have that same food, and if your baby gets fussy again, your baby may be sensitive to that food, but it's typically temporary. So you
Mm-hmm.
may wait a couple of weeks, and then maybe their digestive system is more mature and they can handle having that food. So it's
Right.
certainly not any kind of situation where you're going to avoid numerous foods for months at a time. The other thing I like to tell moms is that if they enjoy caffeine,
Mm-hmm.
they can definitely have up to 2 cups of caffeine at this point. Coffee,
Yay.
get their latte. Being a coffee drinker, I like to share that information, and moms often feel very happy about that. And it really shouldn't affect their baby at all, because it has to go through her own digestive system, and then into the baby's digestive system. And so by the time the baby gets the caffeine, it's so mild,
Mild, yeah, yeah, so
Some moms
minimal.
really need it because they're not used to, having to wake up so frequently. And yep, so they can have up to 2 cups of coffee or tea.
I think especially like when it comes to the diet, I find in many cultures there are like certain traditional things. I know for our culture, Latinos, like we usually want the moms to drink a lot of like oatmeal, and sometimes we like encourage more milk, and those are the usual like for my culture. But I think yes, I also have a large population of parents from India,
Mhm.
and they really keep up the same diet, even the spicy in the food and everything. It's not like it's altered or anything like that.
Yeah.
And the babies do totally fine. So I say the same thing. Like try to keep your diet as normal as you can. And I also encourage moms, like this is not a good time for you to be on a diet, because I
Mhm.
know like everyone is in a rush to lose that baby weight, but
Yeah.
you're burning anyway, you're producing all this milk. And so I don't want moms to be on any strict diets at this point. I don't think that that's helpful for them or for the baby. I think, for, baby needs a good amount of everything, calories and fat and protein and everything. So you don't want to alter your diet in such a drastic way and, reduce your calories so much.
Yeah, it's so true. You burn about 500 calories a day just
Mm-hmm.
by sitting there breastfeeding. And, I like to say, like, it took 9 months for the weight to come on. It's not going to come off in 1 month,
Right,
It's going to
right.
take time and it will happen naturally. And, we want to make sure that the mom is eating enough and getting enough calories and protein, for the
Yeah.
breast milk. Yeah.
Right. Like I just feel like there's so many unrealistic goals, especially with social media and all the beautiful pictures. And, everyone wants to take these gorgeous pictures and put them on Instagram and everything. But it's gonna happen. You just have to give it time and not beat yourself up for that, because you have so many other things going on. Like the last thing you need to worry about is getting back into your pre-pregnancy jeans. Like forget that. Just that shouldn't be a stress that you're putting on yourself. I feel
Yeah.
like, there's just too many things that you're transitioning into, and your body is just trying to recover from it. It's a big deal, going through that stress that your body goes through, and, creating this baby for 9 months, and then going through the birthing process itself is very stressful on the body. So, you have to give it time to heal. And
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. And be all right with that, like own that. That's all right.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
bring your maternity jeans to the hospital because you're going to wear them home.
Right.
You're,
Right.
it's always surprising to people. Why do you still look pregnant? It's
I
like all the
know.
fluid and everything doesn't come out right away. Like your body is altered and it's going to take time for it to go back, and
Yes. Yes. And that's totally fine. I remember when I was breastfeeding, I would have these like crazy sweats where I just felt like I would lose 5 pounds all of a sudden. Like I would wake up in the morning and my bed sheets were drenched, and it was just because I would just like have all these sweats and everything was just coming off. So I didn't as much as I wanted to be back at my like pre-pregnancy weight. I was also I was okay with it, even though I didn't think I would be, because I noticed how it was just naturally happening anyway with the breastfeeding. So it's like no big deal, There's
yeah,
so many benefits to breastfeeding, like the uterus, getting back to its like original size and everything. It's okay. Like it, the body knows what it's doing. I
yeah.
think, trust, trust, trust in the higher being who created all of this. Like there's a reason why
Absolutely.
everything happens, so don't put that extra stress on yourself.
If your body can create this perfect baby,
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
course it knows what it's doing.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like there's a lot of things that I cannot explain as a doctor, but I know that, your body really knows what it's doing, so just let it do what it has to do.
Yeah.
And what can a new mom do to ease her transition back to work?
Oh, that's a great question. I get this a lot. I
Mhm.
typically ask moms right away, like, when are you planning on going back to work? And if they're planning to go back to work. Um, so, I recommend that they reach out to their employer ahead of time, maybe a couple of weeks ahead of time, via phone or email, and just check in about expectations. Of course, mom's going to need some break times, and
Mhm.
typically moms will pump for 15 minutes, but you also need time to clean your parts, the pump parts, and store the milk, and maybe change your bra if you're putting on like a hands-free pumping bra. So
Mhm.
you're going to need probably more like a half hour. And
Yeah.
most moms will do that about 3 times during a typical workday.
Mhm.
So you want to talk ahead of time about, these break times and when they're going to work, for your employer. And you also really want to make sure that you have a suitable pumping location that you can,
Yes.
a private area that you can pump in.
Mhm.
It's not a closet or a
It
bathroom.
shouldn't be a bathroom, right? Mhm. Yep.
So you want to talk ahead of time, and if you're the first person that has had a baby at a company, you're going to really have to pave the way for other moms about what's expected.
Yes.
But a lot of times, they've dealt with this before, and it's really good to reach out to the other moms at companies and say, where did you pump, and what were
Mhm.
your challenges? Do you have any recommendations of what worked best for you?
Mhm.
Because moms are a great resource and they want to help each other. So
Yes, that's true.
other thing is, try returning midweek. Don't start on a Monday, start on a Wednesday. Going
Yeah, give yourself like 2 days.
to routine is a lot of work. Maybe start on a Wednesday or Thursday, do it for a couple of days, have the weekend to evaluate and see, what worked, what didn't.
That's really
Um,
good advice. Yeah.
and there's a lot of products out there that help make pumping at work easier. A lot of women don't want to go in the bathroom, or they don't want to go to the kitchen sink and start washing all their pump parts in front of their male colleagues,
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there are different, there's like microwave steam clean bags that you can put your parts into and just microwave them for a minute with some water. They have
Mm.
quick clean, like antibacterial wipes for the pump parts that you can just clean privately. There's
Nice.
also hands-free pumping bras. So if you're somebody that works on your computer and you have a private space, you can continue
Yes.
working if you need to while you're pumping.
Right, right.
So there are quite a few products out there that really help. Some moms tend to have a little trouble maximizing their milk supply through the pump when they're away from their baby, and it's
Mhm.
hormonal because you're not with your baby all day anymore.
Yes.
Your your mind is shifted into work mode. And so when you're running from a meeting thinking, oh my gosh, it's been 3 hours, I have to pump, and you just put the machine on and you're like, okay, and
Mhm.
if your body is feeling stressed like that, you're probably not going to get the most amount of milk. So one thing I encourage moms to do is, instead of working on your computer, you might look at your phone and watch some videos of your newborn or your baby
Mhm. Mhm.
pictures, and will actually stimulate that oxytocin bonding hormone.
Yes,
I
yes.
especially was, happening in the beginning. If you look at those really early videos, I tell people take a bunch of video because this is going to help you when you go back to work. you know.
Yes, yeah. I had the luxury of calling my baby every time I was pumping. So I was always on the phone with him and doing all the little baby talk and everything with him and
Oh,
and
that's a
and
great idea too.
yeah, I was only able to pump like once a day. I only pumped during my lunchtime.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't lose my milk supply and I was able to exclusively breastfeed him his first 9 months. So
Wonderful.
yeah, so I think that really helped having him on the screen and just having the back and forth kind of relationship through FaceTime.
Yeah, you can do that these modern times. That's a great idea.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, pumping once at work. Like, every mom is different, and that can work for people. And I also tell people, like, sometimes they get worried, like, well, should I call my mom or my caregiver and see what time he's eating so that I can time it exactly? I can pump exactly at the same time. And it really isn't, it doesn't matter. It's not like that. It's just approximately every 3 hours. So
Mhm.
if you're in a meeting that goes 3.5 or 4 hours, it's really okay. Just pump when you
Right.
can. But you don't have to coordinate it with the baby's feeding times exactly.
Right. I
Yep.
would make sure though that I fed him before and put him to the breast before I left to work. And as soon as I got home from work, that was the first thing I did too. It was like come on, buddy, let's go have our feeding,
Yeah,
to keep up, and obviously, like, and during the night and stuff like that.
yeah,
So when I was home, it was exclusive just putting him to the breast, and I didn't pump only at work. But all of that helped for me to keep up my milk supply.
that's great. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Speaking of milk supply, there are certain foods and herbs that can help increase
Mhm.
your supply if you're struggling with that.
Yes.
You had mentioned oatmeal. That is a food that is what we call a galactagogue, which is an
Mhm.
herb or food that naturally can increase milk supply.
Mhm.
So I encourage moms, if they're having trouble with supply, do they like oatmeal? If they do, that's a great breakfast
Mhm.
food.
Mhm.
Um, Make sure you're drinking enough water or
Yes.
tea, but I don't want people to drown themselves with it. Drink to thirst. People think like, oh, you have to drink gallons and gallons of water to make milk. No, your body will make milk, but you do want to make sure you're drinking enough, and you're going to
You
feel
stay
thirsty.
hydrated. Mhm.
So, and then there's herbs that we know that can help increase milk supply that they sell in like capsule format or tinctures
Mhm.
to help. Some people ask me about like mother's milk tea, um,
Yes.
and I say, it's great, but you have to drink about 5 cups a day for it to even make any kind of difference.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like you're just going to have 1 cup of tea in the afternoon and that's going to help your milk supply. Um,
Mhm.
so really, you only need to drink mother's milk tea if you have any kind of milk supply issue, unless you want it to just be like one cup a day. So what I recommend, especially in the warm months, is make iced tea out of it, and then that way they can drink that instead of their water if they like it.
Mhm.
Um, but the tinctures are really the most potent, and they're the easiest because you can just put it. It's very concentrated. Put it into a little cup of water or juice and just drink that typically like 3 times a day. So
Mm.
that's the
Okay.
easiest thing to do.
All right. Good. And how do you know when is the right time to wean a baby off of breast milk?
So it's a really good question, and it's a very personal
Mhm.
decision. I typically say, as long as both baby and mom mutually desire to continue, then you should continue. If you are feeling resentful of the time it's taking, you want more help, um, or for whatever reason it is, you decide that you're ready to wean, then you should do that. And it shouldn't be based on, societal expectations or expectations of your family or friends. You know, a mother's decision to wean is personal, and it's just based on her individual desires. Um, Babies typically do not wean on their own before their first birthday if they haven't received bottles.
Mhm.
Some babies will end up preferring a bottle, and so that can be a little bit of a struggle. Um,
Yes.
so that is a reason why some people end up weaning. But if you are exclusively breastfeeding, most babies will not wean before their first birthday. And so
Mhm.
if you want to wean your baby before the first birthday, it's going to be what we call parent-led, where the mom is going to slowly, substitute a bottle for a feeding and slowly
Mhm.
wean. Um, and then sometimes, moms will say, I'm going to breastfeed him until he's 5 years old. And the baby at 10 months has decided she's done. She doesn't want to
Right.
breastfeed anymore. So it really can go both ways. And
Right.
that can be really hard on the mom. She's got
Yes.
ideas of what she wants. And that's one of the hardest things about parenting is that, you have all these grand plans, and children and babies, they have their own ideas about what they want for the rest of their
That's
life.
right. That's right. Yeah, you have to be okay with that.
So it really can go both ways. Regardless of who initiates it, it can be a very emotional process because, you're stopping this breastfeeding. It really should be gradual, not only because you want to train your body to wean off the amount of breast milk that is demanded so that you don't
Mhm.
get any kind of infection, but
Mhm.
also it's best if you can do it gradually for emotional reasons, because it is quite a strong bond of
Right.
attachment.
Yes.
Going from 8 feedings a day to none or one can be hard, and physically and emotionally. So
Yeah.
I always recommend just trying to do it gradually. People will tell me they want to have another baby, they want to wean, but the baby, their toddler is loving it. And we just talk about maybe dropping, 1 or 2 feedings a month, as you're
Right.
preparing for this second baby, And sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, you have to do it quicker, and you can over a week or two period.
Right.
Really, it's done quite gradually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did it very gradually also because I loved this so much. And it was not painful. It worked out for both of us. He wasn't going crazy looking for me, and but that's so like that bond is so nice that it's hard to give that part up. It
Yeah,
it
sure.
really is. Like I miss it. When my best memories of him being a newborn is with you breastfeeding him. Like we just had such a nice time. It was beautiful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I definitely promote breastfeeding. What I don't promote is mommy's getting all stressed out. That's the one thing. And I always tell parents, like, sometimes you have a plan and it doesn't work out, but I think as long as you're doing your best, or you have to be kind of flexible. Just like you said, everybody has a different plan. The baby may have a different plan, so you
Yeah,
have to welcome that and not fight it so much. But for me, the most important thing is not to stress yourself out to the point where you're isolating yourself, or like beating yourself up so much, or comparing yourself to other people. You do your best. You give your baby what you can, and your baby's gonna do just fine. I know sometimes that's hard for some mothers when they really were so um like set on a certain whatever ideal they had, and if they didn't achieve it, that can be really difficult. But with all the hormonal changes that you're going through, you have to be open to what works for everyone. Like
yeah,
that should be the goal. It's just everybody should feel good about this,
absolutely.
not living up to like what you saw someone else do.
Exactly. And if mom is not really happy breastfeeding,
Mhm.
probably not bonding very well with her baby.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
to me, that's number one. I always
Yes.
tell people I was raised on formula. I think I turned out okay.
Right.
Of course, we're promoting breastfeeding, but there are different it's not black or white. You can
Mhm.
definitely do a combination.
Yes.
I can
Yes.
tell you how to do that. I can
Mhm.
help you do that safely. Um, I really just like to ask moms what are their personal goals, and I like to help them achieve it. And like you said, that can change. You have
Right.
a goal, you may have to, you often have to adjust your goals in parenting, right?
That's right. Often, very often.
Yes, yes, more than they would expect, right? So that was one of the biggest transitions. I used to be a project manager, and I loved how everything was just laid out and planned. And I would try to do something with my daughter, and she cried, or I had set her up in her little swing, and I was going to exercise one day, and I remember she just cried and cried, and I had to stop exercising, and it was hard, and I was like, gosh, it's like you're not going along with my plan, and
I know. And they often don't.
yeah, adjustment. You no longer can do exactly what you want to do, but you get a lot of rewards, and it
Mhm.
all works
Mhm.
out. Yeah.
It does. It really does. You have to be easy with yourself, and not put so much stress on yourself, because I think we beat ourselves up so much for everything,
Yeah.
and it's not the time to do that,
Yeah.
especially when the baby first comes. Like that's really not the time to do it. You just
Yeah.
kind of have to be open, and reach out to whichever support you do have to get you through that transitional period, because it can be um really difficult with the sleep deprivation and everything. So hormones, sleep deprivation, and just trying to figure out this new way of living is pretty tough. But
Yeah.
talking about new way of living, so one of the other reasons why I think expectant parents and new moms need to have this Latch Baby book is because we're going through this new time with the coronavirus, and no one wants someone like in their space right now. So you need to have a really good companion for breastfeeding. And I think, you know, your Latch Baby book is exactly what new moms need, you know, moms that want to breastfeed. This is exactly like what you should have, because the illustrations are so perfect and the chapters are so nice, and it really is written to get exactly to the point. So that's what I really love about it. It's a beautiful book, and thank you for creating that, because it, like I told you, it was divine timing. Like with all of this that's coming up, this was exactly what moms who want to breastfeed need. Like I think they should take a look at it and see how nice and easy it'll just make the whole breastfeeding process, you know, go. And why wouldn't you want to have something like that at home to help you out during this time?
Yeah, that was really my goal. You know, as a lactation consultant, I would often, you know, I'd go into a bookstore and I would think, oh, I wonder what breastfeeding books they have, you know, and they usually had 2 or 3, and I would look at them, and sometimes they were, you know, really long and, you know, very text heavy. And I thought, I'm not sure who's reading, you know, I I would love to read a book like that, but I'm not sure every mom has the time to read that. And I thought, gosh, I could create something, you know, that's just a little more concise. And you know, I'm a visual learner, and I appreciate visual beauty. And I thought there were pictures, and, you know, it would just be easier. There's so much that we can explain through pictures. And having worked in the toy industry, I had, you know, colleagues who were illustrators, artists, all sorts of, you know, people who had these talents. So I reached out to this one, you know, woman, and she did all the illustrations, and I just love her style.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love it. I just love it. And that's what attracted me to the book initially, because when I saw the post of the illustration, I was like, wow, why hasn't anyone done this? This was exactly what should have been done years ago, because just like you said, like breastfeeding books, when you read them, they're so like technical. They're made for like people, I feel like in the medicine world, you know, if you're a lay person, I don't know how easy it is for you to understand all of that.
Yeah.
It's too textbook. Like I that's not what people are looking for.
Yeah.
So this was just like perfect and perfect timing. Good. I'm so happy that that you created this. Is like I said, it was a pleasure to like see it and just look through it, and what I think is needed in new parents' lives right now. I want them to take a look at it. I want them to have this at home. If your plan is to breastfeed, this is a must. You have to have this book.
Thank you. And they can purchase it on Amazon, just so you know.
Yeah, and you can get it at home, you see, even during the coronavirus.
Yep.
So, so it's easy breezy. It's like that's what everyone needs right now. We don't need anything complicated during this time.
For sure.
Thank you so much, Tracey, for doing this with me. It was such a pleasure meeting you and looking through your book and having you on the show. I totally want to just thank you for taking out the time, you know, especially right now when I know time is so precious for everybody. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let everybody know where they can find you, please.
Oh, so my website is Tracey Lactation, and that's with an EY at the end of Tracey, TraceyLactation.com. And they can also find me on Instagram at Latch Baby Book.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
To listen to more podcasts, please visit us at drdivinalopez.com and follow us on Instagram at Dr. Divina Lopez. Thank you for listening. Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.